In the National Electrical Code, there are exceptions that permit the use of 12/3 wiring in specific scenarios when adding a receptacle. One applicable exception can be found within Article 314.16a. This section addresses box fill calculations, which are crucial for ensuring safe and compliant electrical installations. Article 314.16a primarily applies to 1 and 2 family dwellings and multifamily dwellings up to and including 3 floors. It allows a single cable or raceway to contain up to 3 conductors supplying a maximum of 2 different circuits. The key here is understanding how this exception relates to the specific installation. If the store can be classified as a one-family dwelling for the purposes of this code section, then this exception could potentially apply. The code official is the responsible party that determines if the space can be considered a one-family dwelling. It is important to note that while this exception might permit the use of 12/3 wiring between boxes, other NEC requirements must still be met. A critical aspect of any electrical installation is ensuring that conductors are adequately protected from physical damage. The description mentions that the wiring will come down through thin wall conduit. This addresses the protection requirement for that portion of the wiring. However, the segment of the wiring that runs between the boxes above the suspended ceilings also needs protection. The NEC mandates that conductors must be protected from physical damage wherever they are installed. In the scenario described, running ROMIX, which is a type of non-metallic sheath cable with connectors between the boxes above the suspended ceilings, might not provide adequate protection on its own. Suspended ceilings can be areas where the wiring could be subject to physical stress or damage. Therefore, additional measures may be necessary to ensure compliance with the code. The NEC outlines various approved methods for protecting conductors, including using conduit, raceways, or other suitable enclosures. Choice of protection method will depend on the specific conditions of the installation and local code requirements. One possibility would be to continue the use of conduit for the entire run between the boxes, even above the suspended ceilings. This would provide a continuous layer of protection for the conductors. Another option might be to use a different type of cable that is specifically designed for use in suspended ceilings or other areas where physical damage is a concern. It is crucial to consult with a qualified electrical inspector or engineer to determine the most appropriate method for protecting the conductors in this particular installation. The electrical inspector has the final say in whether the installation meets the requirements of the NEC. In addition to the physical protection requirements, it is also important to ensure that the wiring is properly sized for the intended load. The 12 American wire gauge, or AUG, wiring is typically rated for 20 amps, but it is essential to verify that this is sufficient for the receptacle that is being installed. The NEC provides guidelines for calculating the load requirements for receptacles and other electrical equipment. It is also important to ensure that the wiring is properly grounded. Grounding is a critical safety feature that helps to protect against electrical shock. The NEC outlines specific requirements for grounding electrical systems. It is recommended to consult with a qualified electrician to ensure that the receptacle is properly grounded. Furthermore, it is essential to use appropriate connectors for connecting the wiring to the receptacle and the boxes. The connectors must be listed for the type of wiring that is being used. They must also be properly installed to ensure a secure and reliable connection. The NEC provides guidelines for selecting and installing electrical connectors. When working with electrical wiring, it is crucial to follow all safety precautions. Always disconnect the power before working on any electrical circuits. Wear appropriate personal protective equipment, such as safety glasses and gloves. If unsure about any aspect of the electrical installation, it is best to consult with a qualified electrician. Working with electricity can be dangerous. It is important to take all necessary precautions to protect against electrical shock and other hazards. In summary, while there might be an exception in the NEC that allows for the use of 12/3 wiring between boxes when adding a receptacle, several other factors must be considered. These include ensuring adequate physical protection for the conductors, verifying that the wiring is properly sized and grounded, and using appropriate connectors. It is always best to consult with a qualified electrical inspector or engineer to ensure that the installation meets all applicable code requirements. Remember, the NEC is a complex document, and it is essential to have a thorough understanding of its provisions before undertaking any electrical work. Failure to comply with the NEC can result in serious safety hazards and code violations. Therefore, always prioritize safety and seek expert advice when needed. The NEC is not just a set of rules. It is a comprehensive safety standard that is designed to protect people and property from electrical hazards. By following the NEC, electrical professionals can ensure that electrical installations are safe, reliable, and compliant with applicable regulations. It is also worth noting that the NEC is updated on a regular basis. It is important to stay up to date on the latest changes to the code to ensure that electrical work is performed in accordance with the most current standards. The National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, publishes the NEC, and it offers various resources to help electrical professionals stay informed about code changes. These resources include training courses, publications, and online forums. In addition to the NEC, there may be other local codes or regulations that apply to electrical installations. It is essential to check with the local authorities to determine if there are any additional requirements that must be met. Local codes may vary depending on the specific location. They may address issues such as permitting, inspections, and specific installation requirements. It is also important to consider the type of occupancy when planning an electrical installation. The NEC has different requirements for different types of occupancies, such as residential, commercial, and industrial. The occupancy classification will affect the types of wiring methods that are permitted, the number of receptacles that are required, and other aspects of the electrical system. When adding a receptacle to a counter in a store, it is important to consider the specific needs of the business. The receptacle should be located in a convenient location for the intended use. It should also be of the appropriate type for the equipment that will be plugged into it. For example, if the receptacle will be used to power a cash register, it should be a heavy-duty receptacle that is designed to withstand frequent use. If the receptacle will be used to power a computer, it should be a surge-protected receptacle to protect the computer from power surges. It is also important to consider the aesthetics of the installation. The wiring and the receptacle should be installed in a neat and professional manner. The wiring should be concealed as much as possible, and the receptacle should be flush mounted in the counter. The goal is to create an electrical installation that is both safe and visually appealing. When planning an electrical installation, it is helpful to create a detailed plan that outlines all of the work that will be performed. The plan should include a list of materials, a wiring diagram, and a schedule for completing the work. Having a detailed plan will help to ensure that the work is performed efficiently and safely. It will also make it easier to obtain any necessary permits or inspections. The plan should be reviewed by a qualified electrician or engineer before any work is started. In conclusion, adding a receptacle to a counter in a store requires careful planning and attention to detail. It is important to comply with all applicable codes and regulations and to ensure that the installation is safe and reliable. By following these guidelines, one can create an electrical installation that meets the needs of the business and protects against electrical hazards. The NEC provides a framework for safe electrical installations, but it is not a substitute for professional judgment. Electrical professionals must use their knowledge and experience to make informed decisions about the design and installation of electrical systems. They must also be aware of the latest industry best practices and emerging technologies. The electrical industry is constantly evolving, and it is important for electrical professionals to stay up to date on the latest developments. This can be achieved through continuing education courses, industry conferences, and professional publications. By investing in their professional development, electrical professionals can ensure that they are providing the best possible service to their clients. The ultimate goal of the electrical industry is to provide safe, reliable, and efficient electrical power to homes and businesses. By working together, electrical professionals can achieve this goal and contribute to the well-being of society. One final point to consider is the potential for future expansion of the electrical system. When adding a receptacle, it is wise to consider whether additional receptacles or circuits may be needed in the future. If so, it may be beneficial to install a larger conduit or pull additional wires to accommodate future needs. This can save time and money in the long run. Planning for the future is an important aspect of any electrical installation. It is better to over-design the system slightly than to under-design it. An under-designed system may not be able to meet the demands of the business, and it may require costly upgrades in the future. An over-designed system, on the other hand, will provide ample capacity for future growth and expansion. It is also important to consider the energy efficiency of the electrical system. Energy-efficient lighting, appliances, and equipment can save a significant amount of money on energy bills over the life of the system. The NEC has provisions that encourage the use of energy-efficient technologies. It is important to select energy-efficient products whenever possible. In addition to saving money on energy bills, energy-efficient technologies can also reduce the environmental impact of the electrical system. By using less energy, these technologies help to conserve natural resources and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Sustainability is an increasingly important consideration in the electrical industry. Electrical professionals are encouraged to design and install electrical systems that are both energy efficient and environmentally friendly. This can be achieved through the use of renewable energy sources, such as solar and wind power. It can also be achieved through the use of energy-efficient lighting, appliances, and equipment. The future of the electrical industry is bright. As technology continues to evolve, electrical professionals will have access to even more advanced tools and techniques. These tools and techniques will enable them to design and install electrical systems that are safer, more reliable, and more efficient than ever before. The electrical industry is a dynamic and challenging field, but it is also a rewarding one. Electrical professionals play a vital role in society by providing the power that we need to live and work. By upholding the highest standards of safety and professionalism, electrical professionals can ensure that the electrical systems that they design and install will serve the community for many years to come. And remember to check with the local inspector. They are the final say as to whether the install is within code.